I'm Dr. Vijayalakshmi, working as an associate professor in the Department of Basic Science in Vishnu Institute of Technology, Bhimavaram. In this video, I would like to share a few tips of presentation skills which are very essential for higher education graduate. Points discussed in the presentation are introduction, planning a presentation, preparation, presentation, visual aids, language expressions, body language and voice, and evaluation grid. A presentation is a talk given to a group of people about an idea, a subject, or a product. It has become an important form of oral communication in the spheres of education and work, and is closely linked to career and personal growth. Reports, proposals, policy statements, and feasibility studies are presented to the audience. Students, teachers, scientists, researchers, managers, sales, and marketing executives and administrators need this skill in the course of their everyday work. The goals of presentations could largely fall into three areas. First one is to give new information to the audience. Second one is to update them about a subject they are already familiar with. And the third one is to persuade them to do something like buying a product. You may use certain props to help you make a presentation come alive. You may use a real object like a product of your company, video films or film clippings, and PowerPoint slides. There are essentially three steps involved in making presentations. One is planning, and the other one is preparation, and finally presentation. Tips for planning a presentation. Decide on the subject. This, of course, is usually given to you, but when it is not, choose a topic that suits the occasion and the audience. Put down the objective or the purpose. Is it meant to inform, or to persuade, or to report? Know your audience. The level of the content, formality, and style will depend on this. List the main points you want to make in your presentation. This depends on the time you will get. After you have a final list of points, arrange them in a logical sequence. Finally, plan what you are going to wear. You must dress formally for your presentation. Next, tips for preparation. Read your points again and revise. Prepare graphs, tables, or pie charts that you want to include in your slides. Develop each point. Think of examples and illustrations that go into each point. Structure the content in a logical sequence. To make you feel surer of yourself, you can prepare cue cards, which are numbered cards with keywords and phrases related to what you want to say on each point in your presentation. Mark on your cards the visual aids that go with them so that the right slide is shown at the right time. Number the cue cards so that they can be arranged sequentially. Keep everything ready in a file folder. Now it is the time for presentation. Stand erect, smile first, greet the audience, introduce yourself, introduce the topic, present the purpose of your talk and the points you are going to deal with. Present the topic point by point, conclude your talk, thank the audience, and invite questions. How well you have to design your visual aids is shown here. All the visual aids you put up or show on screen must be related to your talk. The slides or charts must be in the right order, matching the sequence of points in your presentation. Do not put in too much information on one slide. It will make the slide unreadable. Put only keywords or phrases, points or short sentences on the slides. You can expand on each of the points when you explain the visual. Avoid errors in spelling, punctuation, and typeface. Show only one visual or point at a time. Do not move from one visual to another without giving the audience time to absorb the information on it. Practice moving forwards and backwards within your presentation. You or someone in the audience may want to look at an earlier slide. It is useful to give the audience handouts at the end of your presentation. They will be able to watch the slideshow and listen to you without having to worry about taking down notes. Visuals must be clear and well designed, and the letters large enough for people even at the back of the room to read easily. Use a minimum 20-point Times New Roman or any other friendly typeface that can be read from the back of a room. Before you start, check if the projector you will be using works and is kept in the right position. Also, make sure that the room is neither too bright nor too dark.
Language expressions play a vital role in making a presentation. Some expressions for opening remarks are: hello everyone, good morning, welcome to, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today. Good morning, my name is, and I am from. Good morning, I am from. Thank you for inviting me to talk to you this morning. Expressions for stating the purpose are: as you know, the subject of my presentation today is, I'm here this morning to. My aim is to. The purpose of my talk today is to. In my presentation today, I'm going to. Expressions for giving an outline are: I have divided my presentation into. I'll first, then we will. Finally, I'll begin by, and after that I'll deal with. Before going on to, the presentation will conclude with. I'll be talking about firstly, secondly, thirdly. My talk has 4 parts. First, I'll introduce to you. Second, we will discuss. Third, you will learn about. And finally, I'll conclude by giving you. Expressions for giving other preliminary information and starting with the content are: my presentation will take about half an hour or so. If you don't mind, could I deal with the questions after the talk, please? I'll take only about 15 minutes of your time. We will have a question and answer session after that. The presentation is going to take around 40 minutes. Please feel free to interrupt if you have a question. You don't need or need not take notes. I'll give you a set of handouts with all the points we discussed today. Expressions for moving to another point and going back to an earlier one are: let's now turn to. I would like to move on to. This takes me to my next point about. Next, I would like to consider. Let me go back briefly to an earlier point. As I said earlier, to recap what we discussed under the last point. Expressions for emphasizing important points are: what we must understand is, what we mustn't do is, we urgently need to, we really need to. Expressions for drawing attention to visuals are: I would like to draw your attention to. Could you just look at, as you will see in the next slide, if you look at this, you will notice that, you can see that. Expressions for making recommendations are: I strongly recommend that, my recommendation is that, I really think we should. Expressions for keeping the audience involved are: how would you solve this problem? What are the options open to us? Why should we be concerned about this? I am sure many of you here have experienced this. You must all be aware of what is happening. I hope you know about the situation. Expressions for summarizing and concluding are: to sum up the main points of my presentation. Before I end my talk, I would like to summarize its main points. To run through my main points, I would like to conclude by saying, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you all for your attention. Expressions for inviting questions are: if you have any question, please feel free to ask them. If you want to ask any question, I'll do my best to answer them. If there are any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them. Now it is the time to look after our body language and voice. Choose a place where you are visible to everyone. Do not stand between the screen and the audience. Maintain eye contact with the audience. Do not read either from your notes or slides. Speak to the audience. Modulate your voice depending on the size of the audience. Do not rush through, but keep a moderate pace of speech. Evaluation parameters for presentations are content, language expressions, body language, logic and rationality, and visual aids. Thank you. If you like my videos, don't forget to ring the bell and subscribe my channel Vishnu English Professor.